LAProbateExpert.com. And this is our Wednesday or Tuesday afternoon real estate investing Zoom. We meet every Tuesday at 3 p.m. Pacific time, 6 p.m. Eastern time to talk about all things real estate investing, from brand new investors, want-to-be investors, wholesalers, real estate agents. We're here to talk about how we can increase our income and make more money and build our wealth in the long run via real estate investment. We have a whole variety of people. We have one of the leading attorneys in the area, Jack Lapidus. We're just chatting about, if you're on early, you got to hear a little bit about noise challenges in the city and such. So today, I thought I would do something a little different. Generally speaking, I like to have guests about 2/3 of the time, and I like to maybe share some content I come across I think might be valuable for about 1/3 of the time. And I haven't done any on my own in a while, so I've had this one waiting in my wings. But it's one I think is important is I want to share with you guys some resources on real estate investing that I think are important. And why do I think they're important? So the thing I know about change in any person is change is transformational. We have to first change what goes inside our head before we'll take the actions that are going to lead to changes in our results. So when I coach real estate agents or investors, I always first take an inventory. What are they watching, listening to, and reading? My first coach was Zig Ziglar. He said you can change who you are and you can change what you are by changing what goes into your mind. How things get in our mind? By what we watch, read, and listen to. What's amazing, we have an opportunity today more than ever for more free content. We have the whole world literally of material available to us like we never had before. One of my favorite resources is YouTube. I actually pay to have YouTube, I think it's called Red, where I don't get advertisements, so I can watch it more continuously. And I find on YouTube amazing videos and audiobooks for free. But I want to, within the real estate space, share with you a couple of resources I use. I have just 6, I would call my basic 6 real estate investing resources that I listen to when I need to get back into the real estate investment headspace. These are the ones that I go to. Now, I'm going to ask you, if you have any additional ones, you're welcome to share them. If you're live on the Zoom, put them in the chat box. If you want to share it live, put in the chat box and raise your hand, and I'll unmute you, and you can share it with us and tell us what you like about it best. If you're watching on this, we're live streaming on YouTube and Facebook. You're watching on our social medias. Feel free to put it there, and I'll be glad to try to catch up with it either after the call or whenever it shows up. So, you guys interested in hearing what my favorite 6 are?
Yeah.
I'd like you to share. Think of your favorite 1 or 2, and put in the chat box along the way. But I'll share with you my first 6. So let me share the screen, and I'll kind of show you not only the 6, but what I like about them. The first one is Bigger Pockets. The Bigger Pockets is a podcast but it really is a community of people. The videos they have are fantastic. I just listened today to this presentation on foreclosures. Now, usually they have other material as well. This was one of the economists from auction.com talk about why we're not going to see a tidal wave of foreclosures that's been projected by so many other internet sources. And what I want to say is there's so much junk on the internet. I don't think that's news to anybody, with fake news and all the propaganda. This is the source I go to for real practitioners with their finger on the pulse of the market in these different niches. Should you have an LLC or an S Corp? And these are accountants that are part of their community as well. And so each of these, they have multiple different teachers, and they have weekly classes as well. But this is one of my basic fundamental go-to to learn about any particular topic that I've not learned about before. So that's number 1, Bigger Pockets podcast. And again, they have all kinds of videos, and then like all websites, you have playlists. So one of them is the real estate news this year, last year. And then on the BRR method, which is you buy a property and then rehabilitate it, refinance it, and repeat. And then out-of-state investing. And so these are different playlists that if you want to learn about particular investing strategies, they have multiple content on each of those topics. So that's number 1. And really my go-to on real estate topics is Bigger Pockets. Number 2, really one of the classic books, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and Robert Kiyosaki, the author, has a video podcast that he gets into bigger economics. He gets into politics, which I try to stay away from. But I do think that he has a great perspective on creating wealth. And I think that's the part, again, all these people, when I say it's like a buffet, you don't have to, and I'm saying this to you guys, You don't have to take everything at the buffet. You can just take what you want. And so all these people offer, I think, some great stuff and other things that I would leave, kind of like the egg salad buffet. I would never take the egg salad. So for Rock Kiyosaki, I would stay away from the politics. I would stay away maybe from some of the more obscure matters. But again, when he talks about investing in real estate, this is a master who's taught millions of people and literally helped millions of people achieve great success in business. Is it okay to profit from war? It's an interesting topic because in some regards, there are people who are just trying to avoid a despotic government and they profit from war. It depends on which side of that war you're looking at. But again, one of my second favorite channels is Rich Dad, a channel from the Rich Dad Poor Dad series of books. Number 3 is kind of obscure one, maybe. Meet Kevin. And also what's a little different about him is he is probably more in stocks in those kind of investments. He's really worth tens of millions of dollars as a result of stocks. But he was a real estate agent here in California. He also was a nominee for governor. An interesting story for you, such a young guy. But I think he has a really good handle on what's happening in the economy. I find him entertaining more than education because he has so much content. But when he talks about a topic, he is a master on real estate investing, where the market is, how to profit from it, and just has an amazing channel. But again, part of it is also entertaining. I also find he does a great job when he does deep dives with different people. He's one of those fearless interviewers who ask people the tough questions. Ross Gerber is a wealth management guru, like on CNBC, and he's one of those guys always promoting Tesla stock. And so Kevin, he kind of go at it a little bit and what effect the Russia-Ukraine situation will have on it. So those are two. Really, one of the guys I follow on Twitter is Ross Gerber, and Meet Kevin does these interviews. I think he does a great job on those in particular. Number 4 is Graham Stephan. Graham Stephan, now he's a guy who grew up in Southern California. He initially was a realtor, and then he became kind of more of a YouTube personality, but he still is involved in real estate as an investor. And then also does a lot of talking on saving money, investing, cryptocurrencies, in the stock market. But again, I think the mindset thing that I admire about him, he's a young guy who's really practiced saving his money and using it to work for him rather than spending it and living an extravagant lifestyle. And he really lives very modestly compared to his net worth and his income. And I think makes he invites on some people who live well beyond their means. I think does a good job of making a case for being frugal or being efficient with your money. And he also does a really good job interviewing people. He interviewed a guy who has multiple units. Again, he's I think a fearless interviewer, and I find his interviews fascinating. Okay, that's 4. 5, Uncle G, Grant Cardone. And I'll tell you personally, I met Grant Cardone on the phone about 12 years ago. He had if you read his books or follow the story, he talks about a house he had that had a fantastic view up in the Hollywood Hills, up in the Bird Streets. It was an expired listing. I called that house not knowing who he was. And he answered the phone and said to me in the conversation, "Do you know who I am?" And I said, "No." He goes, "Well, you know my name?" I said, "Yeah." It says right here, Grant Cardone. "But you don't know who I am." Now, this was 12 years ago, before he'd written his best-selling book. He was a motivational speaker in the auto space. He would train auto dealerships on how to sell cars. He was a leader in that field before he put his own money into real estate and then moved into kind of the real estate space as a speaker. So I didn't know who he was. He said, "Well, you need to know who people are before you call me." He hung up on me. And I remember hanging up and I Googled him and saw his book. At that time, it was Sell or Be Sold. It was a great book. Bought it. I've bought his book since, and I've been to his programs. I went to Florida to one of his programs late last year. He's an amazing speaker. I think the thing about him that I like the most is his intense, focused mindset. He's kind of like the Kobe Bryant of real estate investing in that he cannot be taken off his mark. He sees through people. People challenge him. He's a little gruff for me, and in some regards, sometimes not my style of, it's important to me to be polite. It's important to me to be kind. I have my moments, but I work at that all the time. When I see somebody less than me, I get a little nervous. So he's a little rough, but I do think he comes from a great place. I saw him relating with his wife and kids at these events. I think he's an amazing guy. But in real estate, he is a master investor, particularly of multifamily units, an absolute master. He's also a master on challenging people to improve themselves. I think that's one of the things we have to start with is, especially if you're younger, is your most important investment is investing in yourself. So Uncle G, Grant Cardone would be number 5. And I have all kinds of Grant Cardone stuff in my office. I have a 10X sign on my desk. I have the little risk things and his books. And he definitely is, I would say, my go-to motivational speaker for the last year or so. And I will also say about Grant, I'll never forget March 17th, 2020, when the pandemic was shutting everything down. And that was the day that LA County closed the courts, and my business effectively stopped that day. I had like 28 pending escrows that were all officially going to cancel or on hold. And I remember just being so distraught and wondering, what am I going to do and how am I going to provide for my family? And I went and saw a live stream that Grant was doing, saying the same thing to himself. He said, I don't know what I'm going to do, but here's what I'm going to do until I know what I'm going to do. And he had a list, an action plan. And on one hand, he said, I'm going to stop spending any money on anything we don't need. And he went through a whole list of what that looked like, getting rid of everything. He said, if you don't know where your next dollar is coming from, you can't spend anything you don't need to spend. And he said, need is just food, shelter, and utilities. You don't need anything else right now. And second, he said, you need to start make a list of all the ways you can generate revenue and get on it right away. And I remember I made a list of the ways I can make revenue. I added a couple of streams of income I didn't have before at that time. And I have to tell you, from that day on, I just killed it. That next year, I made a fortune. And the last 2 years have been the best of my career. And a lot of that's because of that talk I had with Grant online on that one day in March, I think it was 17th of 2020. So that's number 5. And then number 6, one of the guys that really kind of started me on this path a long time ago is Dave Ramsey. Dave Ramsey is the number 2 leading radio personality in America. He talks about personal finance more than he does real estate. He's not really a real estate investor. But what I'm going to say is you really can't invest in real estate if you don't have your household budget under control. If you're living beyond your means, if you're buying car, I had a friend of mine, Abraham knows, I think he might know who I'm talking about. I have a friend of mine who this past weekend was complaining about his finances. He has an $800 a month car payment. I said, you don't have financial problems, you have spending decision problems. You can't afford an $800 a month car payment because I can't afford one and I make a lot more than you and I'm worth more than you. And he goes, whoa, this truck is $50,000. I said, right. You can't afford a $50,000 truck. That's more than your net worth. Your net worth is negative. You can't afford a $50,000 truck. So Dave Ramsey is relentless. Anybody besides me know, what does he tell you to do when you have no money in the bank? Anybody else know? In the chat box, anybody, if you know Dave Ramsey, you know this phrase, rice and beans, rice and beans, rice and beans. And what he basically is telling you is stop eating out. You can live on rice and beans, because beans are the protein and rice is the filler. But his basic premise is you've got to live within your budget and save money and pay off the debt as quick as possible. And he's turned more people, I think, into they call baby step millionaires than anybody I've seen in my lifetime. Just an absolutely amazing resource for people to, I think, stop the hemorrhaging, turn themselves around. Great program for couples if you need help with your spouse to get them on track as well. He's very much family oriented. And so anyhow, those are my 6. Just a quick recap. Bigger Pockets, all things real estate investment. Rich Dad Channel, real estate investment, but also mindset on being an investor. Meet Kevin, a lot of financial stuff that's not related, but he has great insight into real estate as well. Graham Stephan, former real estate agent here in LA, now he lives in Las Vegas. Grant Cardone, the big daddy of real estate investing. I personally invest with Grant in his multifamily syndications in Florida and Texas. And the Dave Ramsey Show, which is really all about getting your finances under control and putting money aside so you're able to monitor your responsibilities and take care of your family and such. So those are my 6. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 6. What are yours? Who's got one they want to share? You can put in the chat box, or you can raise your hand and I'll call on you, or you can unmute and just jump in family stuff. You can unmute yourselves. No, most of you don't have muted, unfortunately. Anybody have anybody they want to share with us? Raise your hand. I see. So the challenge here is the hand. I meant the hand in the Zoom. Anders, go ahead. Now I'll unmute you. There you go.
All right. So I have posted here in the chat. So I have 6 that I kind of follow and look at their YouTube channels and so forth. It's a guy named Daniel Barrero with USA Land Ventures. He is in New York. He's been buying multifamily and single family homes and condos in New York. Now he's not doing a lot in New York anymore. He's mainly in Florida. And he has YouTube, Instagram, everything. Chris Haskins, who's also an investor, he's in Virginia. And he also has a YouTube channel that is really popular right now. A guy named Mike Fritz, he's a multifamily real estate investor that I've just started to kind of follow. It's my wife started to follow him. And then Sean Pan, who was on your here. That's kind of where I ran into him. And he is a real estate investor, but he's also a loan, works for a hard money lender, and he is in San Francisco, but just moved to Dallas to be closer to the opportunities there. And he and his wife is a lot into multiple income stream, remote working, and so forth. And as some of you know, I'm my wife and I are real estate investors, but I also do solar, and I have 2 guys on the solar side. Tom Cotter, he doesn't have a lot on YouTube, but there's another guy called Jonathan Brunasso. He is a realtor and also a solar guy, and he has a lot of stuff on YouTube.
Nice, very good. Well, thanks for sharing those resources. I took some notes here, and then we'll put them in the chat or description as well. Good. And I want to say, I listen to these. In my bedroom, I have a iPad Mini, and I have a Bluetooth speaker. And every morning I get up and I put on one of these channels to listen to, so my head starts getting into good, positive vibes, or learning, education. I think is really important. And so you give me some other ones to listen to and put in my rotation. So thank you so much. Anybody else have anything they want to share? You can raise your hand. I'll put it on gallery view here. You can kind of wave your hand if you're muted, or put in the chat box. Does anybody have any other suggestions or recommendations for great real estate related information you can want to share with us? No? You want to share any great books that you would say are life-changing as far as motivation to keep you on track? This is your chance to participate. One thing I'll tell you is the more you give, the more you get. The business is about creating value for other people. And so I want to challenge you to take the opportunity, put the camera on, raise your hand and participate, share something with somebody. I know we didn't rehearse this, but here's your chance to be of value. Anybody else? No? Sean? And then Arthur. Go ahead, Sean. I just asked you to unmute.
It's industry specific for me, but Nathan Cool, he's based out on the north side of LA, and he gets into a lot of very, very high-end homes and photography. So he goes into all kinds of stuff for marketing, real estate, what makes good photos, a lot of how-tos. So while it's specific to me, there's some information there on marketing your stuff on the back end of this, the back end of the sale and or the project. So I don't know if that helps anybody.
I like it. How to handle planned catastrophes. That's definitely
yes,
important topic. Very nice. I like that. And I think Arthur, you had your hand up also, right?
There we go. All right. There, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Excellent. Well, let me just tell you, I try to stay close to my old mentor. I was in a company called World Finance Group for many years, and I was privileged to be under the direct mentorship of Edward Milet. So if you look up Ed Milet on the internet, I think he's as big as Tony Robbins, and I love Tony as well. But he's got a really good podcast. He's got some of the best people on his show. and I think he's kind of still very connected with my old company, World Finance Group. But anyways, if that's someone that you can wake up to, he's got some good motivational stuff he puts out, good content, which really helps me stay focused. I'm in, as you know, Bill, in the real estate investment world and consulting some high-end deals, and I've really enjoyed your show. I've met some really great people on this weekly, so thanks to let me be part of it.
Sure. Well, thanks. Well, I appreciate the kind words, and I put in Ed Milet, WFG. I remember are they still
Yes.
around?
They are actually. They're
Huge.
very big now. So
Huge
I have very
organization.
good contacts way on top in that organization. I was with them for many years. So, but
Very good. Very good.
I thought that'd
Thanks
be a
for
good
sharing.
source. You got
Thanks
it.
so much for sharing. Okay, I see also now Maisha has her hand up. Maisha, go ahead. Maisha, you there? You need to unmute yourself. Okay, there you go. You are unmuted. Maisha, you there? Looks like we're in a bad spot. I think you're commuting or something. Okay, we will try you another time. Okay, I see Dimitri, your hand is up. I'll go ahead and unmute you. Dimitri, you there?
Hey, sorry, camera got a little bit messed up. I was gonna say I don't really have. Can you hear me?
I can.
Yeah, so I don't really have like a list of people I'm currently following. I'm really new into real estate, but the people you were mentioning earlier, actually just picked up the 10X book and the Dave Ramsey book this week as well. So I was actually
10X.
There you go. So I was actually super happy you brought those two up. I'm
Can I tell you, I'm a real estate agent, I'm a listing agent, and whenever an agent sells my listing, I send them a thank you gift, and it's that book. I sent it to them. I just feel like I want to help people, and that book is just mind-changing. Have you read it yet?
So I'm like halfway through the 10X book. I'm doing like a lot of the, I got the book with the practicals inside of it. So I'm doing like the practicals and everything. So I'm taking it like really slow. And I just started the Dave Ramsey book. I got that last week. So. Yeah.
Very nice. Yeah, it's 10X is a mindset. Whatever problem you have, if you just try to solve a problem that's 10 times bigger, you'll figure out the problem you have in front of you. So fantastic. Okay, Avram can't find the hand, but he wants to raise his hand, so I'll just unmute you. And I don't know why I didn't unmute you for you. Thank you, Dimitri. Thanks so much.
Okay, so there's a guy I've listened to over YouTube. I don't know his name. His site is called Reventure. His strengths are he's very good at managing data. His weakness is he's got kind of a negative view of the world. So you have to filter out what you hear. But he's good, very good at gathering and presenting and managing data.
I'll tell you about him is I've seen him a bit as well. I do watch him because he has a huge following, a huge channel. I would say that's entertainment, not education. Because he's putting out things I think designed to get you to watch, not really inform you. And I think a lot of his, for example, he's been talking about the market crashing nonstop for 6 months. Eventually, if you say it forever, you'll eventually be right.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, people will have lost out on a lot of money. I think that, but everything's blowing up, everything's falling apart, and I just don't. Maybe it will turn out somewhere down the road, but definitely, I watch this stuff regularly and Reventure, but it's definitely very emotional.
You can't get too carried away with them.
I think so. Okay, good. And we don't want to get carried away with ourselves, do we, Abraham?
But I've tracked some of his data, and his data's what I can track has been good.
Well, I think there's a saying, there's lies, damn lies, and statistics. And so when you look at some numbers, you can, if you don't really look at the context. So, for example, he had a thing on new home building dropping. Truth is, even if new home building doubled the volume of houses from last year, it wouldn't really affect the inventory.
Change.
It's just not that significant. The foreclosures went up, but even if the foreclosures went up 5 times from where they are now, it really wouldn't affect the economy. It's just not that big a number. So it's a statistic that sounds alarming, but in terms of actual effect in the economy. Now, is it a leading indicator? It could be. It might not be. We don't know. So it's hard to say, but those are the kind of things where he has good. I look at his data, and sometimes I'll use that as why I think it's wrong. But anyhow, but he's entertaining for sure. Okay, so that's our problem. How to list and sell. Commercial Agent by Michael Simpson. Yeah, Michael Simpson's a good guy. He's local, I think, also. Really good. So Sean says, I said something like 40,000 doors could fall out of the sky in Southern California tomorrow before the effect on the local market. Yeah. If you think about Los Angeles, I mean, 40,000 houses, I'm sure that week would make a big difference. But in terms of pent-up demand, it would not make, we sell in our market, in our MLS, about 10,000 an average month. So 40,000 would be 4 months supply. But in the course of a year, 4 months isn't that much. It's a third of a year's sales in a year where the sales are so high. So you look at statistics, and it just turns out not to be that significant, I think. Okay, anybody else want to share any other tidbits or tools? Again, the premise is from Zig Ziglar, my first coach, you can change who you are, you can change what you are by changing what goes into your mind. And what that means is that if you really want to make a change, and this is before any change in your business, whether you want to make more commissions, buy more real estate, build your wealth, whatever it is, it starts with your mindset. You have to go from somebody who in your mind might be struggling financially to somebody who experiences abundance. And the way we do that is by changing what goes in our mind, by changing what we watch, listen to, and read. When I meet with agents and I do an inventory, I'll ask them, well, what do you watch? And they always say this, I don't watch much television. Interesting. Much is a judgmental word. How much do you watch? And what I would say is that drinking just a little poison is still drinking poison. Like, I've never drank poison, but when you watch in the movies, the poison they kill people with is always like a little teeny bottle. It doesn't take much poison to kill you. Well, same with television. It doesn't take much modern media to kill your mindset and make you depressed. It doesn't take much watching the news today to get you off track where you need to be mindset-wise. And so I would urge you to cut it out. Try cutting it out for 30 days. Try not watching the news on your phone for 30 days. I don't have any notifications on my phone at all, other than the phone when it rings, and even that's silent most of the time. And I don't want to be pinged when people do things in Facebook or other programs. I want to keep my mindset clear of that, not be interrupted. So what do you watch? And you can't just not take out the bad stuff. You got to put good stuff in. You want to overflow on good stuff. If you're full of good stuff, there's no room for the bad stuff. So what do you watch? And YouTube's a great source. What do you listen to? I listen to a lot of YouTube. And what do you read? It's very important to read. So I have all kinds of books. I have so many books. We gave away tons of books to Goodwill last year, and I'm already running out of space for my books again. I try to read a little bit every day, about half hour to an hour every single day of good business material. Okay, that's all I really had prepared today. I wanted to just talk about my favorite sources. Hopefully you found those helpful. If you watch this recorded or afterwards, you guys want to reach out to me with other suggestions, feel free to text me, email me. I'm always looking for good books. I'm always looking for good video channels to promote, good speakers and such. So feel free to reach out to me. All social medias I'm on at Bill Gross EXP. We do this every Tuesday at 3 o'clock Pacific time, 6 o'clock Eastern, and we live stream it on YouTube and Facebook, and it's recorded there. So if I can help you, call me, text me, email me. Thanks for your support, and make today your best day ever.